okay, you you enjoy the benefits of this, and ask any question that is necessary. Thank you all. And Mr. Ibrahim, let's start.
Okay, sir. Good evening, everyone. Let's confirm that you can hear me enough.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, okay. Share. Okay, so let's confirm we can see my screen. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see it's a very fine screen. Very fine and
Yes,
beautiful.
very beautiful screen.
Thank you.
Yes, we can see it clearly, sir.
Okay. So please, house rules still remain the same. If you know your background is noisy, kindly unmute yourself. And after each aspect, there's going to be room for us to ask questions. If you have any unclear aspects while we are explaining some concepts, just note it down. Once it is time for question and answer, we pick that before we proceed to other aspects. Another thing, you may drop your question in the chat, but I think it's better we just unmute ourselves and ask the question. So I think we can start now. Okay, so my name remains the same, Ibrahim.
Mr. Ibrahim.
Yes, sir.
Shebi, we are not having lobby for this for today. Now there's no lobby. Everyone, there's free entry fee exit, right?
Yes, no lobby. I'm not even admitting anybody. So
there shouldn't be lobby.
Yes, I removed the option.
So I'm surprised. I'm surprised when some people are telling me they're in the lobby. So maybe they are joining. Let me delete the first group. Don't worry. Continue. Let me delete that of Teams. I think maybe that's what is.
Okay.
People are using that.
Okay. So our topic for today
I've deleted it. Continue.
Is cost of capital. Let me just write Apex SFM November 2023. Okay. Cost of capital. That's our topic for today. Cost of capital. Okay, so if I may ask, who can tell us, can we, within 3 minutes, can someone help us with instead of understanding with the concept cost of capital? Hello, are you on the same page? Okay, I can see Madam Ole. Are you speaking to that? Okay. Okay. Courage, Maris, you have the floor. You can speak.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Cost of capital is the minimum of returns required on an investment project.
Okay.
That keeps the present wealth of shareholders unchanged.
Okay. Okay. Minimum return. Okay. I can see Mr. Wale Africa. You have the floor. Unmute yourself and speak. Mr. Wale, you can speak. Mr. Wale, are you there? Okay, so let's. Sorry, don't mind Siri. In simple term or in simple word, cost of capital is the minimum return required by fund providers. So let me complete this. Minimum returns required by fund providers. Okay. I think that is clear enough and it's a kind of straightforward. The question we asked ourselves now is that who are fund providers? Can anyone help us with fund providers? Let me say fund providers. Who are fund providers? Madam Maris, is that a new hand or the former one? Okay. Amir, you have the floor. Shoot.
Yes, fund providers could be investors that the investors that contributed money to fund a business.
Okay, that's taking investors. Investors. Okay, so here you are right. Investor simply means fund provider, but we have two broad categories of investors. We have the shareholders, and we have the, let's say, the debt holders, or whichever name we give it. So what we're trying to say here is that, sorry. Okay, I won't do it. Sorry for that. Okay. We have shareholders, that's the first group. We have debt providers. Some people call them debt providers or debt holders. That's the second group. Now, when we say cost of capital is the minimum return required by fund providers. And here we all agree that our fund providers should be called investors. And majorly, we have two categories of investors. We have the shareholders and we have the debt holders. Okay, so now minimum return. For shareholders, what is the return required by shareholders? Who can tell us the return required by shareholders? The floor is open. I want it to be as interactive as possible.
Dividends.
Dividend.
Okay, dividend. You are right. Dividend. What about the other group? What is the return required by debt holders? Anyone?
That is interest.
Interest.
Yes, sir.
Now two survey book for this group. Interest. Okay. Yeah. So this is the basic story. Now let's now go to the proper business. What you will see in exam. Although we still explain them as we proceed. Okay. So we have two groups of investors, shareholders and debt holders. Okay, now let me paint one small scenario here so that we can be on the same page. Okay, so in a company, let's say ABC or let's say Apex Limited, for example. Now, this is our company. This is the company. Okay. The investors in Apex Limited, we have three categories now. A, we have shareholders. Others. B, we have debt others. Then C, we have, now also is a kind of shareholders, but they are different category. Preference shareholders. Okay? Are we still on the same page? Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so let's assume
with you.
let's assume that the return required by the shareholders, let's say return now, is, we said it's dividend, but you know this dividend is actually a percentage of their profits, So let's say is a 12%. Okay. Interest. Yeah. Interest. Let's say is 4%. Then this is actually preference dividend. Let's say 7%, for example. Are we all on the same page?
Yes,
Yes,
we
sir.
are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can see different investors have different return rates in the company. Okay, if I may ask a question here, yes, there are different investors. If you say cost of this, okay, let me just bring this in now. This 12% to the company, to the shareholders. Are we on the same page? To the shareholders,
Yes, sir.
to the shareholder is dividend that they will receive, which is the return on their investment. But to the company is a cost because the company is paying it to the shareholders. So we call it cost of equity, KE. I will still write the meaning of this later as we proceed. This 4%, which is the interest being paid on the debt, yes, is an income to the investor, the debt holder. But to the company, it's also a cost, which we call cost of debt, KD. Then we have cost of preference shares. Are we on the same page now? So let's go back to the definition of cost of capital. We all agree that cost of capital is the minimum return required by fund providers. Okay. Now, in other words, we say cost of capital is the minimum return you must get in any project you plan to use investors' money on. Like, we are all aware, we are all aware of MPV, right? We all know MPV from PM days, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
When you do your MPV, you say when it is positive MPV, you tell them to accept the project. When the project has a negative MPV, you tell them to reject the project. Okay. Now, the cost we are referring to here, when you are doing that your MPV, your discounting factor, let me pick this. This cost of capital permits me to use this acronym COC. And let me put it here. Cost of capital. So going forward, you see COC, that's cost of capital. So for MPV project, any company wants to undertake, when calculating your MPV, you will use what we call DCF, right? Discounting factor. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
This DCF, this is during your PM days. PM days. Okay, let me say skills, or let me just say in PM. In PM. We call it DCF. But this is what we refer to as cost of capital in SFM. So this cost of capital now, we have different rates according to the example on the board. We have 12%, we have 4% for interest, we have 7%. Now I have a question and I want all of us to answer this. Let's assume there is a project that we want to appraise using NPV, for example. There is a project. Among all these three different rate of return, which is 12%, 4%, 7%. Which one do you think we are going to use to discount our cash flows when calculating NPV? Which of them is the appropriate rate to use when calculating NPV? Which of them? Is it A or B or C? Who want to try? Is it 12% or 4%
12%.
or 7%? 12%.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, 12%.
4%.
4%. Let's say
23%.
23%. Wonderful. We add it up. Okay, so we have like three different suggestions now.
The weighted average.
We have 12%. We have four options now. We have 12%. We have 4%. We have 7%, and we have weighted average. So let's take one after the other. One after the other, please. The person that suggested 12%. Can you tell us the reason for choosing 12%?
When they want to evaluate project, they use the cost of capital of the company, and the shareholders are like the owners of the company.
Okay, you have your point. You are coming back. The person that said 4%. Can you tell us your reason?
I think the lower the percentage, the NPV becomes positive. If negative.
Okay, that's your own reason. Okay, the person that chose the last option, can you tell us your own reason that said we should add it up, right? 23%.
Yeah, yes, sir. My point is, since they are all fund providers, so I think we should add all the rates, sir.
Okay, you also have a point. Okay, so the last person, can you tell us the reason for the weighted average that you mentioned?
Well, for me, actually, it depends on the source of the finance. But if the source of finance is based on the three various options, then the weighted average. If it's just shareholders fund that raises the money, then maybe use cost of equity and so on. So it's just if it's the combination of the three that produces the finance for the project, then the weighted average we use.
Okay. So now, let me now say this. You all have some points, but the standard is this, and I will tell you the reason why. We work with when you have more than one source of finance in a company. When I say source of finance, I'm referring to okay, how can we get money? How can we raise money from investors, from shareholders? The money you get from shareholders, if you want, in some word, we can say the source of that finance is from shareholder, which is equity. From debt holders, we can revert the source of finance to debt or sometimes bond. Then the same thing goes for private shareholders. Okay, so when you have more than one fund provider or more than one source of finance, all these three are what we call source of finance. the actual source of finance. That's how we can get money to finance the company. When you have more than one, you take the weighted average, which I'm going to show us now. Weighted average. Weighted average cost of capital. We call it WACC. Wow, this is W, this is A, this is A. Okay, this is A. This is C, and this is another C. So we call it WACC, weighted average cost of capital. Why is the reason? What's the reason for WACC? Because you have more than one fund provider or source of finance in the company. Do we all get that?
Yes.
Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can't use
Yes,
12%, we can't use 4%, we can't use 7%, we can't even add it up. And the weighted average cost of capital we are referring to here is not your normal arithmetic mean that you say 12 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7 over 3. That's not what we are doing here. That's not the average we are doing here. The average we are doing here is based on, yes, we have the rate, we have the cost. We have the rate, we have the cost. The average we are using here is based on what amount from each of these sources, not just the percentage, the return, but we want to know what value, how much do we want to raise using equity, that is shareholders, using preference shares, and using debt. Do we get that? Which we are going to be looking at this evening, this work. Okay, so give me like 3 minutes. Let me set up the new, because they just want me now that we are almost about to exhaust the 30 minutes of our Zoom. So let me quickly create another link. Okay. So while I'm creating this, let me put 6:15 actually to 6:45. Yes, remove waiting. Okay, while I'm creating this, take home from what we've discussed so far. We have cost of capital, which is the minimum return required by fund providers. And we said, or we agreed that we have three main sources of finance, which are shareholders, which is equity, debt holders, and preference shares. Okay, so in the next meeting, Zoom meeting or link, we start work. You will see the whole formula and the likes. So I can assure you that it's not something that is hard, very easy. I don't want to rush anything. So we have like maybe 5 minutes to go here or 7 minutes. Before we proceed, is there any question so far on the aspects we've covered so far? Any question, you can unmute yourself. If there is question, let's know. Can we hear me, please? Hello.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Sir, we can hear you, sir. We can hear you,
we
sir.
can hear you.
Okay. So we have 6 minutes left from here. Let's maximize our time. Let's proceed. I think Ogakebe will share the new link in the group. So let's go. The new one is starting by 6:15. Okay, let's quickly join that one so that by 6:15 everybody will be on the same page. What do you think?
I think we should continue. Sometimes it may not cut, oh. It may just give you that warning, but it might end up not going off.
I observed that thing yesterday actually after the second link, but this is the first link for today. So let's proceed. Once it's cut, we continue from the second one. Okay, so this WACC, which is the cost of capital, we know their types now, isn't it? We've explained the types, which are how many? 3, right? We said the first one is what? Equity, or we call it shareholders. Shareholders. The second category is preference shares, and the third one is actually debt. Okay, so things we need to look out for here, apart from the types, includes factors affecting cost of capital. Yeah, let me mention some. We have business risk. Sometimes examiner will come from theory aspects. We have financial risk, amounts required, demand and supply. etc. Okay, so when I say business risk, who can explain business risk to us? Meaning of business risk. Anyone? Business risk. These are the factors that will affect your cost of capital, your WACC. Okay, so who want to try business risk?
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm with you.
Hello, sir.
Can...
I think a business risk is any risk that can affect the business in order to achieve its objectives, like high price of the commodities, like financial risks. That's something that has to do with the financial management, and then there is also exposure risks and many.
Okay, you've tried. So in summary, business risk simply means unavoidable risk. The risk you must face as far as you are in a particular line of business. If you are into transport, what's their major is that they cannot do without accidents. Are you on the same page?
Yes.
So this one is unavoidable risk. You can't avoid it. Then we have the financial risk. Don't worry, all these things are in the material that was shared on the group. Just want to touch some basic one you need to know. Financial risk. Financial risk is all about the risk you will face based on the mode of financing your business. if you use only equity to finance your business, you can't compare the level of financial risk you have with using both equity and debt. That's that. Another thing that will affect this your cost of capital, all those percentage, all those your DCF. Another thing that will affect it is the amount required. Okay. Also, the demand and supply. The level of how many people are willing to supply you with capital, give you loan, all those stuff, and even the level of how many companies, how many individuals want to do business that need to raise money from probably shareholders or debt holders. So all this stuff will affect your cost of capital. Okay, so another thing I would like us to look into before going to the formula and calculation, very important, is the relationship between cost of capital and market value of an organization. Can anyone try? What type of relationship do we have between the cost of capital and